So I'm Olive Von Topp, burlesque performer and empowerment coach. And I want to talk about self-love. One of my favorite things to talk about, one of my favorite types of love. And the month of February, what better time than now? I mean, we can talk about and cultivate self-love anytime, but I think it's an especially important time because it's a lot of focus on relationship love, relationship with other people, relational love with other people, also great, but can also make us question our relationship with ourselves. And like, it's a really good time to strengthen that that relationship. Um, what will I say about self-love? It's yeah, it's been kind of like co-opted and it can be eye rolly and it's just like, you know, treat yourself lovingly and do yoga. Those yes, sure. But how and also like it's way more than that and deeper, and it's showing up for yourself in certain ways and having boundaries and doing things with intention, etc., which I'm going to talk about. So, but what I will say is that it does take a fair amount of work and consistency and practice and patience. It's like any muscle, you got to flex it and work it, but it does become so much easier. And then you just like it can be reflexive to say really terrible things to yourself. It can become reflexive to be compassionate to yourself, let's say. And as somebody who's been, just pretty highly critical their whole life, and been really working on my own self-love journey the last 10 years or so, I have noticed significant differences in obviously the way I talk to myself, but more so the way I show up in my life, the way I show up for other people, the just general relationship I have with myself, and the ease that I can feel by not like, and the energy that's like goes into hating yourself is just so much. Um, they have all this other energy and places to put it, and yeah, the world just gets brighter, you know? So that's my case for self-love. And I think of it like any loving relationship that we have, they take work, they take intention. Um, but thinking about like, how do I treat the people in my life that I love? I am one of those people. So how am I gonna show up and treat myself? And if you don't know, that's okay because you can be anywhere on your self-love journey. Sometimes self-acceptance is a really good place to start. And sometimes self-love becomes a consequence of that. So you don't know where to start, no problem. Here's some ideas that are very much not exhaustive, but to just get you thinking about self-love and starting to cultivate it. So obviously I'm going to say pay attention to your thoughts. I do a lot of mindset coaching. So obviously I'm into thought work and I see very significant results. I also see, a lot of women who come to me, mostly women, who haven't really paid attention to their thoughts. They have this like nasty gremlin that is just telling them stuff and they're just like believing it and going about their day like, yep, I'm a piece of crap. Yep, I'm ugly. Yep, I'm a failure. Um, and they're not even like, they don't even notice it. It just becomes part of like the background noise, but it like drives the bus, right? It creates feelings that drive actions, which, creates our lives. Um, and so and that could be something we've been cultivating since we were young, so it can take some time to unlearn it. But the first thing is like paying attention to what are the thoughts, right? If we want to change them, we got to know what they are. So we got to get quieter, we got to slow down, we got to get curious. You're like, oh, like when you you know make a mistake or you look at yourself in the mirror or you're trying to start a project or whatever it is, like those are the times like really notice, how are you talking to yourself? What are you saying? What are the thoughts that come up? And write them down, get curious about them. And then maybe you want to even ask yourself some questions like, hmm, whose thoughts are these? Like, where do they come from? Do they come from my family of origin, or maybe something I've learned in childhood? Or are they reinforced by media and societal pressures? Are they true? How do I know? Are they fair? Uh, is believing them helping me? And do I want to believe them? And generally, I don't want to believe them. Sometimes people think that Oh, sometimes people think that hating themselves is going to be motivating, but there's research as well that can point to the fact that like actually what's motivating is self-compassion. The people who know that they are, when they take risks and they fail, that they're going to like show up for themselves and be compassionate, actually have an easier time doing things and sticking with them, than people who are doing it out from a place of like punishment and like beratement. So like you can't really hate yourself into like ultimate like improvement. There's, you can have gains, but like it's gonna, one, be hard to maintain, and two, be really painful getting there. So like you could also have a much faster, easier, more loving time by just like not being such a jerk to yourself. So that being said, you know, once you have this inventory of how you speak to yourself, then you can go about trying to change it, right? You can set about trying to replace those thoughts with more loving thoughts. So you got to start. I have lots of resources on this. I'm not going to go into it too far. It's other videos that you can watch. But starting with a thought that you can believe that will replace the negative thought. So if the thought is like, I'm such a failure, maybe the thought that I can believe that's not a like roll my eyes kind of thought is, I'm a human. I'm human and humans make mistakes, or I'm allowed to make mistakes, or whatever it is that you can believe and feel some sense of relief in your body. Like, yeah, okay, I am human. That does make me feel a little bit less activated. Then that's a place to start. And that's where you want to, start practicing that thought in all the places where you feel, where you say really crappy things to yourself. So lots of resources on that. If you want to learn, I have like a free thought tier worksheet. You can work on having more positive thoughts, more loving thoughts for yourself. Um, that's what I'll say on that. I'll also say I'm scratching myself a lot because I'm in the jungle and I'm getting a lot of bites as I sit here. So sorry if that's distracting. I'm trying really hard not to. Another thing is take care of yourself. It sounds super obvious, but it's important, and it shows a loving relationship. It shows love and care, right? Just like you would for someone else. So whether that's like drinking water or moving your body or practicing a skincare routine or journaling or getting enough sleep or whatever it is like things that you do to take care of yourself, where you're doing them again with intention instead of out of like punishment or hate or whatever. Like, I must do this thing because I'm a piece of crap, and if I don't get sleep, then I won't do whatever. From a place of like you would for anyone else. Like, how do you show people you care? And like, acts of service, perhaps doing things for yourself because you care, because you deserve it, and putting that love into it as you do them, will just, like I said, make it much easier to do and maintain those things, and you'll have a much nicer time doing it. Also, treat yourself, treat yourself to stuff once in a while, whatever was within your means, right? So, and I'm not always talking about things that like make you conventionally more attractive, like getting your nails or hair done. Those are great too. Don't get me wrong, but like things that really nurture you or like create joy or make you feel really good, like taking yourself out to dinner or buying yourself a plant or allowing yourself to just like lay in bed and read all day, whatever it is, like treating yourself. And again, doing this from a place of intention, and love, right? Rather than a place of trying to numb yourself out or distract yourself, will make a big difference. Romance yourself. I just cannot express this enough. There are so many moments where we can make them romantic for ourselves when we're alone. We don't have to have other people there. Sometimes that's really nice and like that can be really romantic, but also we can have this romance with ourselves, right? Like life is incredibly beautiful And we have these moments where we can just be present and experience the romance of them with ourselves. So again, whether that's like taking yourself out or lighting candles or watching a sunset or writing yourself poetry or dancing or whatever, maybe those are just mine, but whatever it is, like romance the ever loving shit out of yourself. Um, and this changes our relationship with ourselves, and we start treating ourselves like we want to be treated, like we deserve to be treated. And instead of waiting for somebody else to give it to us, we get to offer that for ourselves. And then when other people come and they bring us things, they romance us, etc., it's just added. It's added, and it's wonderful, but it's not out of a place of um, necessity, because we're able to do those things for ourselves and love ourselves in the ways that we want to be loved. Do a cleanse, like get rid of people, media, grudges, whatever is making you feel less lovable, get rid of it or limit it at least. Put severe boundaries around it, right? Pay attention to how the people that you spend time with talk about themselves, how they talk about other people, and how they make you feel. Pay attention to like where you're really comparing yourself or where you feel really like less. And of course, thought work will help with this, but like maybe those are the places where you really need to set some serious boundaries around like how much time I invest with that and how much energy I'm going to invest with that because I feel crappy after. For example, I have to put limits on how much time I spend on social media, because once I notice that I'm like in comparatitis, I'm getting some comparatitis, I'm like, okay, it's not good for me. Let's just like engage with this in a way that feels better and limit how much time I'm on there. Touch yourself lovingly. Just touch yourself so lovingly, like not just sexually, but yes, also sexually. Um, and do that with like love and intention and not always focusing on the big O, but also just sensually and platonically, I guess. Like touch yourself like you long to be touched. Be present with it and just notice what it feels like to be both the toucher and the touchy. Like even like what does it feel like to touch my skin through my hands, and what does it feel like to have my skin touched by my hands? Like, what feels good, what doesn't, what sensations come up, like where do I experience pleasure? Touch yourself lovingly like you long to be touched by a lover. um, and see if you can even conjure up that sort of sense of like love and passion that you have for others, and if you can impart it on yourself, gift it to yourself. Additionally, like touch yourself regularly, lovingly, these soothing self-touch where you hug yourself, rub your arms, put your hands on your chest, maybe put your head in your hands, cradling your face, like whatever feels good and soothing. And again, doing it with love and intention. I like to accompany it with like when I do loving affirmations, so that thought work, and even using like nice words for myself, like calling myself sweetie or honey or whatever term of endearment. Forgiving myself, forgiving yourself, you can forgive me too, but forgiving yourself, just, I mean, I also have a blog on this, but like, quit holding on to stuff that isn't serving you, doing whatever you can to make amends. And if you can't, whatever you can to let go of it. You can practice saying to yourself, like whatever you would to a friend in the same situation, you'd probably say nicer things to them. You can write yourself an apology letter. It's really powerful to write like an apology letter from past self to present self and present self to past. Make meanings where you can and derive lessons. And just know, you did the best you could with what you had. And that you can continue to learn from stuff. You're human, you make mistakes, you do things out of anxiety or emotions, and that will continue to try to do better. lovingly. Just tell yourself those things. You'll very similarly practice self-compassion. You're an empathetic person probably towards other people. Try and turn that to yourself. This is really key and has really been life-changing for me because I super critical. So like Kristen Neff sort of talks about like what is the common humanity in this, which can really offer you some compassion. Like, have other people done this before? Have other people experienced this? Is this part of being human? Do humans make mistakes? Am I human? Yes, you are. Therefore, are you allowed to make mistakes? Yes. Are there words again that you say to other people that you could offer to yourself? Or sometimes it can help to, if that's not accessible, to even picture somebody you love very much saying those things to you and like feeling how that feels before you can maybe, turn those words of wisdom on to yourself. Also noticing where perfectionism is coming up. Whole courses on this. Is that realistic? Are you trying to be perfect? Is there something that you can let go of? And is there a loving thought that you can use? Go back to your thought work, like I'm allowed to make mistakes, or I'm flawed and lovable. Whatever is going to help you practice some damn compassion, because life is hard and we're just doing our best, and our best looks different every day. Celebrate yourself. Holy cow, people don't celebrate themselves enough. And I get it. We are trained to be modest. We are trained to go after things and be what's the word? Like held in high esteem if we do it, but then we're supposed to be super modest about it. But like we don't celebrate ourselves enough. And this is one of my favorite things I get to do as a coach. It's like celebrate people with them. Celebrate small things too, like celebrate who you are and what you've accomplished and what you've overcome so much. Celebrate what your body has done for you and the pleasure it allows you to experience. And celebrate when you break old patterns. Instead of, reacting, you respond. And celebrate when you speak more kindly to yourself, or you're like like a percentage less of a jerk to yourself. Celebrate it. All of it. Celebrate the smallest things, that you got something important done, that you treated yourself kindly, that you spoke to yourself lovingly, whatever it is, write it down. And I swear, like, pick something small every day to celebrate about yourself. It doesn't have to be like a party celebrate, but just an acknowledgement of the things that you are doing. And I promise that this is not going to make you self-absorbed, and that celebrating your wins doesn't take away from other people's wins. We're not saying that like, oh, I did this thing, I'm amazing, and everyone else is crap. We're saying like, I'm amazing and so are you. We're doing amazing things. Life is hard. I'm doing the best I can, and look at this cool stuff. And celebrate other people too, and I promise it won't make you conceited. Like, they're not the same thing. Being conceited is like being self-obsessed, right? When you love yourself, you're not self-obsessed. You're just like, yeah, I love myself. And then you have energy to spend on other things. When you're conceited, that's all you think about. Think about yourself. You think about how you relate, like how other people are thinking about you. And when you have like, low self-worth, you're also thinking about those things all the time, right? We're constantly worrying about like how people perceive me and whether people like me and the thing I said and whatnot. And yeah, there's a very big difference between thinking like I'm great, or I love myself, I'm amazing, and so are other people. That's very different than thinking like I'm amazing and everyone else sucks. They're not the same. I love myself. I love other people. I hope they love themselves. I see amazing people all the time. I want to celebrate them too. It is not the same. Loving yourself is not the same as being conceited. Practicing self-acceptance can be hard, but just like forgiving yourself, offering compassion, but also just accepting like this is where I am. Radical acceptance, this is my body, this is my situation, these were my choices. Because that's the way things are right now. Not saying I can't want to change or work to change things, but that when we work to change from a place of acceptance and sort of growth rather than like resistance and struggle, um, it's just a lot easier. And I guess finally, since I could keep going on and on, I will say like worship yourself, in these small little ways, like whatever that means to you. So like treating yourself like a goddess, goddess, king, warrior, empress, whatever word resonates with you. But just giving yourself these like little moments of worship, like adorning yourself, getting dressed up, looking at yourself in the mirror, admiring your body, like admiring your strength or your walk or your mannerisms, or like dancing around. Feed yourself grapes. I don't know, whatever feels good, just to make you feel like these moments of being like, yeah, I'm a queen. Look to cats. They're really great. I feel like they're really great about being like, I'm amazing. Um, anyway, I could keep going and I won't. But I think that's a good place to start, and just, know again that these are like little moments that we choose day in and day out that practice and cultivate more of a loving relationship with ourselves, that becomes easier and easier over time to keep going. And then all of a sudden you're just doing it. You're not even thinking about it. You're just like being nice to yourself and being like, I love myself. I like my company. I'm doing pretty great things. And I also have more space in my life and energy to like love other people and love what they're doing and celebrate them and just do things that bring me joy. So let me know what you think. What works for you, what doesn't, where you're struggling. Um, you can get at me through my website. And yeah, happy loving yourself.